Hey, what's going on? You're hanging out with the Rockman, and next to me is can I call you my friend at this point?
We are friends.
This is my friend Neal Adams, who every time I meet, I've picked him up at the airport. He's been on my show before. We've met each other a few times now. I still get like a little 5-year-old kid when I meet him.
Okay, so what I want to know is, who are you broadcasting to? Isn't everybody here?
Well, yeah, a lot of people here, but this
a lot of people.
This is going to be.
Wait a second, you haven't walked the hallways.
This place is packed.
Everybody in this city has to be here, and if they're not here, they should come here.
Yeah,
because this is where everybody else is. It's incredible.
It's the attendance is amazing this year, and we attribute it to our incredible guests, which of course includes you.
Well, they've been by to bother me now and then. That's true. And here to see Lois, of course.
We saw Lois.
And you saw.
Who came in here.
And Lou. Everybody else.
And you've drawn both of those characters at one point, right?
I have drawn both of those characters.
Who haven't you drawn?
I don't guess I have. There's nobody that I haven't drawn.
You've drawn
everybody.
You're one of these guys, for me, growing up, that was the guy that was one of the game changers in comic books.
You see how he's getting gushy? Huh? He gets gushy. He doesn't know what. Up.
First time I saw Neal's artwork was I was in Ottawa. I was in a place called Corkery, Ontario, and my parents had gone to one of the drugstores and bought me one of those big DC treasuries, and it was Batman's Strangest Cases, and inside of it was a story that you did with Denny, which was a Vow to the Grave?
Something like that. It may have been one of the first ones
it was
that I did with Denny.
It was a reprint.
But it was a reprint.
It was a reprint
because you were
Comics
so
410.
young.
And the emotion that you drew in the eyes and the faces I had never seen in a comic book before.
Well,
you get that a lot, right?
I get that a lot, and I get it because I work with Denny, and because I work with the best people in the comic book business. So I get really the best talent to work with me. So all that stuff that I do to show off, I work off of them. Right. So I get to do an awful lot of good stuff. And that kind of stuff that goes to the heart as much as possible. And that's what we do in comic books. We do stuff that goes to the heart. We are, I don't know, the 21st century new art form.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't see how you can count it for less. We get more and more people to come into these conventions. There's 70 conventions in the United States alone, and I think there must be at least 24 here. There's conventions overseas, there's conventions in Japan, there's conventions in Australia, there's conventions everywhere, and more people are coming to these conventions. Between 50 and 100% every year increase.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can barely walk the halls. And those people are out there that are watching us here ought to think about coming tomorrow to see what this is all about, because this is incredible.
Yeah, no, these shows are great.
Right. And it all comes from comic books. It's hard to believe. I mean, when you start to think about it, it's pretty crazy. When
you were doing this stuff in the 60s and 70s, I'm sure you had a lot of people going, oh, there's those guys doing those stupid funny books, but you guys knew. And you were...
we hoped.
And you were talking about stuff that people weren't dealing with. You were talking about drugs, you were dealing with race issues.
Well, we started to talk about drugs, and we started to talk about race issues in those days because comic books were actually very primitive.
This collection right here dealt with some pretty tasty stuff for those days.
That's true, and we did, and everybody was against it in some form or another. Society, it's sort of like rock and roll.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the best relationship that you can make.
Yeah.
Comic books are like rock and roll. As long as you keep them doing interesting and wonderful things, then they become a major part of the culture. But it's that kind of lower echelon of culture that isn't museum-like and isn't, like a sophisticated concert. It's about rock and roll. It's about right down where the people are. And so what happened in the 70s was that we realized that comic books were just cutting the surface and we're not down below where drug addiction was going on and racial relationships were very, very bad. And we had to start moving into those areas and create a black superhero, for example, like John Stewart, who is the Green Lantern of the Justice League that every kid in America and Canada and the world knows. Unfortunately, those people who made the movie didn't quite know that. So I kind of missed out on John Stewart.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are essentially, comic books are ahead of everybody. The thing about comic books is a comic book artist and writer, or just a comic book artist writing his own stuff, can write a $100 million movie and draw it in 1 month.
Right.
And then move on to the next one.
Right.
There's just no catching up to it.
And now everyone's going back and realizing, especially Hollywood, Hollywood's going back and going, holy shit, our treatments for the next 50 years are from these old books in the 60s
Exactly.
and 70s.
And that's what they're doing. And the ones that follow them more religiously are the ones that make the more successful movies.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. We've been saying this for, 3 generations. Follow the comic book. It's your storyboard. That's your movie. And the more they do it, like Hellboy, I can't think of them all the time, but Hellboy is a great example. The new Batman, the 3 last Batmans were like that. The Avengers, 100% like that.
Yeah.
They were the comic books brought to life.
Yeah.
And that is the business that we're in, is feeding television and computer games and movies with imagination. And that's the important thing about comic books. That's why all these people are here.
Yeah.
These people are here. I don't know how many they are. I know they sold out today.
Yeah.
I hope they didn't sell out tomorrow, because I really do want people to come here who haven't experienced this.
Comic-Con.
Fantastic. I mean, you put your camera around all these people, you see people in costume, see people in amazing, it's like Halloween without the trick or treat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like the circus has come to town.
Yeah.
What did you do this weekend? Well, I went to a comic book convention. Oh, really? Tell me about it. I had a barbecue. Oh, yeah, fine, it's a barbecue. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, went to the comic book convention. So people, I hope that more and more people, and tomorrow is a day where you kind of, it hits that kind of level where you can have new people come in and experience it. That's what I'd like to see.
For sure.
Yeah.
Neal, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for taking the time.
It's a pleasure, man.